Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. And thank each and every one of you guys for coming in and listening, giving me 30 minutes of your time every week, Saturdays at 1:30 Central Standard Time, 2:30 on the East Coast. Thank you so very much for coming in and listening and for all of your engagement. Thank you so very, very much. It's a holiday weekend, so happy Independence Day. Happy July 4th to everyone out there. Be safe and have fun while you're out there today. So look, what are we going to talk about today? Today, we've got a lot of things on tap for the show today. We're going to primarily talk about charge-offs today and what are you supposed to do if you have a charge-off on your account. How does it work? What is a charge-off? How can you get it deleted from your credit report? We're going to discuss all of those things today on the 800 Credit Score Man Show. And of course, we're going to have our shout outs. We're going to have our question of the day, which is very intriguing as well. You need to stay tuned and listen to the question of the day because it may be something that you are dealing with. I talked to a lot of people over the last month or so that have dealt with this same particular situation. So I want you to stay tuned and listen to the question of the day. And of course, it's going to be brought to you by Cute as a Cupcake. So stay tuned for that. So we're going to talk about these charge-offs today. But before we do, I want to do a couple of things. One, the 800 Credit Score Man Show has a new sponsor, you guys. So I want you all to welcome State Farm agent Paul Downing. He will be sponsoring the show. And so we're going to get into what Paul Downing has to say. Remember those good old days of dual income, no kids, double-digit pay raises, and a 2-for-1 stock splits? Well, these days, money's a lot harder to get a hold of and even harder to hang on to. That's why State Farm agent Paul Downing would like to introduce you to the Discount Double Check. He'll go through your car insurance policy line by line to make sure you're getting the discounts you deserve and aren't leaving any money on the table. It's fast. It's free. And when he's done finding you 10% here and 15% there, you could find yourself looking at discounts of up to 40%. That can mean savings worth hundreds of dollars, and that's a pretty good return for simply investing a few minutes of your time. So call State Farm agent Paul Downing today at 219-884-6947. That's 219-884-6947. Because being there to help keep more of your money in your pocket is why he's here. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. All right, so thank you very much, you guys. Let's jump into the show today. I want to give my first shout out. I want to give a shout out to a new person, and I literally mean a new person. Ellis James Denson, better known as EJ, came into the world on yesterday. So welcome to the world. Happy born day to you, EJ. Proud parents, Sherrod and Marie. So welcome to the world. And I want to give a big birthday shout out. Today is her birthday, Sharon King. This is my aunt, y'all. So everybody wish my aunt, Sharon King, a happy birthday as well. All right, so let's jump into the show. Since we're going to be talking about charge-offs today, let's do this. Before we do that, it's July the 1st. If you've been listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show, today is a big day. It's a very big day for everybody that's on the credit scoring system that may have a civil judgment or a lien, a tax lien, whether it's from the state or the federal, on your credit report. So today, July the 1st, the three credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, have agreed that they will no longer collect or report that information onto your credit report. Now, what does this mean for you? If you have one of those civil judgments, maybe you got sued by somebody and you owe them some money and it's on your credit report, whether you paid it or you didn't pay it. And if you have a tax lien, some people have had state tax liens or federal tax liens. It's now on their credit report. So, of course, it's a negative for you. It drags down your credit score. Well, if you've had some of those things in the past, they are no longer going to be on your credit report. Now, before you jump up and down and run to check your credit score, it is July the 1st. I don't know how the rollout is going to work. There was no indication how they're going to do this rollout. And with over 200 million people on the credit scoring system, if you have had one of these items on your credit report, it may still be on there as of today. and it is a holiday weekend. So maybe they don't get to you till the 5th or the 6th, and they have it removed from your credit report. So it may come off your credit report. If it's not off your credit report today or tomorrow, don't worry about it as of yet. You've got to give it a little time. So if it comes off your credit report as well, your credit score may not increase right away. It takes the credit scoring system 30, sometimes 45 days to actually update the scores for you. And the credit bureaus actually only update once a month. So even though places like Credit Karma and Credit Sesame claim that they update your credits in 7 days, every 7 days, or every 14 days, or what have you, they actually do upon their system. But the FICO system, that is the main one that 90 to 95% of lenders actually use, they update once a month, and we don't know what that date is. It could be the 5th of the month, the 15th, or the 21st. So your credit score may not jump right away. But if you have had a civil judgment or a tax lien on your credit report, you have to do absolutely nothing, and it should come off your credit report. So I go check my credit report in a couple of weeks or maybe 3 weeks and see if your credit score has gone up. Now, if you want to go on and check and see if that tax lien has come off your credit report, absolutely go ahead and do that, especially if you signed up with somebody that gives you your free credit report, like a Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, a Quizzle, name a place that gives you your stuff, and then maybe go ahead and check that out, okay? But today, July the 1st, is when that particular policy is being enacted, and your credit score could go up 20 to 40 points. Now, listen, if you have been dealing with some credit repair agency and then you find that your credit score has jumped, don't let that agency tell you and sell you a bill of goods saying that they actually did something for you, that they got that off for you. Don't let them take credit for that, because they had absolutely nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. So this is something that was agreed upon. And the reason they agreed upon this, because the thought process is that having a civil judgment or not being able to pay your taxes when the taxes were due does not necessarily mean that you aren't a good steward over your credit and the people that you actually owe. So they're trying to make it a little fairer for everybody. There has been a lot of changes to the credit bureau system over the last couple of years, and most of them, the vast majority of them, have been very, very positive for each and every one of us when it comes to our credit scores. So congratulations to you if your credit score jumps 20 and 40 points. Congratulations to you. All right, so let's jump into these charge-offs and see what we're going to do about that. So we're talking about charge-offs today, and so let's see, what is a charge-off? Basically, a charge-off is saying you have an unpaid debt. Most of the time, the charge-off comes from, a credit card. Let's say you have a credit card with, I always pick on Target and Kohl's and JCPenney's. Let's use Dillard's today. Let's say you have a charge-off. You had a credit card with Dillard's. You stopped paying that card. And so on your credit report, it says charge-off. That means that Dillard's has decided, for this example, this means that Dillard's has decided this person is not going to pay us, so we're going to charge their account off, which means we're going to write it off on our taxes. They owe us $750. Dillard's going to write it off on their taxes, and, they're going to take the tax break because it's an unpaid debt from someone. Now, let me pause right here and say, I was having this conversation with somebody on Facebook, and this young man had a very good theory, and he gets an A for effort for sure. His theory is that if you have a charge-off, that you shouldn't pay it, because Dillard's has already basically gotten their money or gotten credit for their money by making that claim to, the IRS, saying, we can't collect this debt, and they've taken that loss on their thing, on their taxes. Now, again, he gets an A for effort because it's a very good theory. That does not mean if they charge it off that you don't still owe that money. You still owe that money. Maybe they send you to a collection agency. Maybe they don't. Maybe they try to collect it themselves. But if it says charged off, which means they closed your account, you can no longer use it at all. But you still actually owe that money. How long does that charge off stay on your credit report? 7.5 years. So it's 7 years plus 180 days. It'll stay on your credit report from the time of the charge off. Now, some places, like if you have a mortgage, some entities, if you have a mortgage, your 7 years would say start when you made the last payment. So when your account went bad, your 7 years starts there. Well, the charge off is going to start when they charge your actual account off. So this theory that you shouldn't have to pay because they have charged it off and basically got their money is wrong. I believe that, it's a good theory, absolutely, and maybe it's an argument, but that's not how it actually works. Because what you can do, or if you were to go ahead and pay that amount, you say that you owe them $750, you decided to go ahead and pay them $750, in a year, 2 years, or 6 months after, what have you. All dealers would do is record that on their taxes for the next year, that they were able to collect that debt from you. So that's the reason you still owe. That's your money. You borrowed it. You went out and bought some Tommy Hilfiger or whatever it is you bought. You bought a bunch of cologne or whatever it is you bought at Dillard's. And so now that still is your debt. So you still have to pay that or have to deal with it in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So that is what a charge-off is, all right? And so what does it mean for your credit? When you get that charge-off on your credit report, it's going to significantly affect your credit report and your score negatively. So, of course, you already were late, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, maybe 6 months before they decided to charge it off. And so you were getting that 30-day late, that 60-day late, that 90-day late. So that was already affecting you. And then a charge-off hits. And then say they actually do send you to collections. And it's send you to collections, now you have another negative that appears on your credit report. All of these things are bad for your score. You need to go ahead and make sure that you try to get these things corrected as soon as possible. So we're going to pause right here. It's a little early in the show than when we usually do our question of the day. But we're going to pause right here. We'll do the question of the day, a few more shout outs, of course, and then I'll tell you how to deal with this charge off if you happen to have one on your credit report. All right, so let's jump into let's do a couple of shout outs right quick, and then we'll jump into the question of the day. I want to shout out Lew Wallace High School right there in Gary, Indiana. Today, this whole weekend is the all school reunion. So going on tonight is going to be the all white party. I believe it's at the Genesis Center. I'll see you guys later on tonight at the Genesis Center. So big ups to Lew Wallace High School. I want to give a big birthday shout out to Joe Guthrie. Joe celebrated a birthday earlier this week. Also, Vicky Walton. Vicky Walton celebrated a birthday this week as well. And one of my best friends, one of my best friends, one of my frat brothers, my Sands, he was my front, George Crawford, celebrated a birthday earlier this week as well. So happy birthday to you, Sands. All right, so let's get into the question of the day. Question of the day is brought to you by none other than Cute as a Cupcake, Cupcakery and Bake Shop, where the cupcakes are more than just cute, they're delicious. Cute as a Cupcake is located at 2008 West 81st in Maryville, Indiana. Get by Cute as a Cupcake and tell them that the 800 Credit Score Man sent you. All right, so today's question comes from Tasha. Tasha is from Georgia. And so we were having a little conversation, and Tasha said, what should I do if someone, even a family member, pay attention, even a family member, use my credit without my permission and the accounts are in collection, charge off, etc.? Well, Tasha, this is a very good question. I had this come up several times over the last few months, and unfortunately, it happens all too often. Sometimes it's fraud from a stranger, but it's probably even more devastating when it is some kind of fraud, if you will, that comes from a family member. So the first thing that you should do, and this also happens with people that have the same name. So if you are a junior, or you're the third or the second or even the fifth or what have you, then this happens as well. And it's not necessarily fraud. The things, your accounts just got mixed up because you have a similar or the same name. So here's what you do if the account is not yours as well. So the first thing, don't pay. Do not pay that account. You did not enter into that agreement. And oftentimes, too often, we feel like we have to pay that account, and it could take you years to do so because it's not something that you counted on. So don't pay it. That's the first thing. Don't agree to pay it. So when they start contacting you and they